now by Nationals frontbencher Barnaby Joyce, the former Deputy Prime Minister, as always on a Thursday. Barnaby Joyce, thank you for your time. I want to go back to what I started the show with. Should we be giving $25 million to help the people of Gaza without saying first to the people that run Gaza, release the hostages, release the 200 plus hostages you've got?
We should most definitely be saying release the hostages. We want to do everything we possibly can to de-escalate what's happening there. I don't think, Andrew, the Australian people understand how grave this could be. If there's an Iranian backing of Hamas, which is obviously Sunni, and then you've got Hezbollah in the north, which is Shiite, and behind them you've got Iran, which has been doing everything it can to make itself a corridor to the Mediterranean, and you've got in Yemen the Houthi, who are also trying to send missiles into Israel. And this has been if the architecture of this comes from Tehran, then we might have an issue that's vastly bigger than what we see on television sets. And we've got to be really, really, really careful of what happens here. And Hamas should realise that, you don't do it.
Well, I think
you're just a pawn in this. You're just a pawn. You'll get wiped out.
People of Gaza also have got to realise there's a price for being led by people like Hamas. If they start a war, there have to be consequences. Now, I don't like the suffering either, but until there's a price for war, you're not going to have peace. And you've also, meanwhile, got 200 hostages, more than, some of them infants, in the tunnels underneath Gaza. I mean, we can't just say, "Oh, look, here's the money," and that's it.
It's abominable. It's abominable what this criminal group Hamas is doing. They're evil. No one's arguing about that. They're totally and utterly evil. But we can't, therefore, condone any innocent person being killed. And I honestly think that the vast majority, I don't know, I'm making this supposition, the vast majority of people in the Gaza Strip have no real say about who leads them. This is a criminal organisation. It's like being led by the mafia. Like the mafia in Sicily. The Sicilians don't, I don't know whether they have a real
vote for them in 2006.
say in what happens. Well, look,
vote for them.
Just look at the wider ramification. The wider ramifications for the world, Andrew, is if this thing blows up, it's not just going to blow up in the Middle East. It's going to blow up for all of us. And, Hamas needs to be dealt with severely. No one is arguing about that. But, we've got to understand, if this turns into a wider engagement, and the trigger of that would be Hezbollah, with South Yemen, the Yemeni Houthis, it's with Syria becoming engaged in it. Iran comes in, and the response there, we're talking about possible nuclear war. And nobody wants that.
No, but nor does Israel want just to be terrorists to attack it so savagely and get away with it. That's only going to embolden more attacks. That's the thing. No arguments there whatsoever, Andrew. No arguments there whatsoever. The provocateur was Hamas. No arguments there whatsoever. Now, the Prime Minister has not yet visited Israel, and the Israeli Prime Minister hasn't also returned his call. That doesn't sound very hugger-mugger, friendly, we've got your back, Israel, and Israel thinking they've got a friend in Australia.
No, it doesn't. And, without a shadow of a doubt, the instigation of this was Hamas. There is no equivocation about that. And therefore, the role of the Prime Minister is to reach out to Israel, a democratic nation who has been attacked by a terrorist organisation, and to straight away build that bridge. Now, if you have other concerns in other areas, they're not going to be dealt with unless you actually reach out to Israel. If you say, I don't want innocent people killed in the Gaza Strip, and nobody does, then you reach out to Israel and you talk to Benjamin Netanyahu, who through whatever you may think, he's a democratically elected leader of a nation which has, within its Knesset, Arab members of their parliament. This is a democratic country. And you've got to... Hamas is not democratic. It's a terrorist organisation, right? So we've got a clear differentiation.
It's amazing, the double standards. People, particularly ABC, seem to be holding Israel to infinitely higher standards. In a sense, they should, but they should at least be very, very clear that Hamas is absolutely evil, and it shouldn't be cutting them slack. I'll show you reviews later in the show what it's up to with that. Barnaby Joyce, the Daily Mail reports that there are rumours that Indigenous Australian Minister Linda Burney, who made a complete hash of selling The Voice, is now being sounded out to be our next Governor-General. Now, Barnaby, I wouldn't have believed it, but the Mail does say that her office refused to comment when it asked about those rumours. Now, surely Linda Burney as Governor-General, that couldn't be right or appropriate, could it?
Oh, look, there are times I actually feel sorry for Linda. I mean, and that's because she really struggled, didn't she? But look, if you want to pick an Indigenous person, an Aboriginal person to be the Governor-General, I'll give you a suggestion. Mark Gordon Ella, captain of the Wallabies 10 times, never put a foot wrong, overwhelmingly held in respect by the Australian people. Would we just love Mark Gordon Ella to be captain of the Wallabies currently? We might have a chance of, giving, I don't know, Fiji a run for their money. But, there are some great Indigenous people out there, and, Miss Burney might be in the mix, but Mark Gordon Ella. There's my suggestion. Australia. Mark Gordon
I tell you what, at least
Matraville High, Randwick, Wallabies. What else would you want?
Yeah, well, at least you're actually naming someone who would be a uniting figure. I'm not quite sure what the grasp of constitutional law is, but I'm prepared to give it a go. But Linda Burney is just fresh from totally mismanaging, totally incompetently so, a campaign that divided us by race. I mean, the Governor-General says to unite, not divide. So I just think this has got real whiskers on it. Barnaby Joyce, thank you so much for your time.
It's a flight of fan. You're welcome. Look at this rain. Look at this. How do you like this? This is great. Puts water in the water tanks. Unreal.